Hello everyone, and welcome to this audio podcast series. This audio podcast series or synopsis. This audio podcast series synopsis in as part of the and as part of a synopsis as part in and from the prompt series. This audio podcast as part of the Brawl and Rumble. This audio podcast synopsis as part of the Atomic Headline. And this audio podcast as part of a synopsis and as part of a Storm Robotics production. So in one of the previous audio podcast series and synopsis, there was a sort of an overview of in around some elements of viruses and looking at some of the primitive bases of viruses and like to sort of taxonomy of different aspects, different elements of viruses, and in line to sort of the some aspects and elements of taxonomy in around viruses and taxonomy. And the audio podcast previous in one of the previous series was sort of a recap in around some of the sort of primitive aspects or elements of virology. So in this audio podcast series, as part of this series, the Brawl and Rumble, there will be an overview and looking at an application of molecular techniques to microbial diagnoses, and this audio podcast series is part of some notes, if you will, from 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 a sort of a time ago, but as part of this audio podcast and the series, there will be some additional updates in as part of this. So a little bit in around this synopsis, in a little bit in around this series as part of this synopsis. So historically, the investigation of microbial infections has been made by biological methods or methodologies such as microbial culture, microbiological culture within laboratory environs and immunoassays. Recently, also in more recent times, the application of molecular biology investigations has allowed the analysis of the nucleic acid component of viruses and bacteria and fungi to be sort of identified and established. Um, the um, the notes sort of from at least in part from a retrospective basis, but also aligned to how sort of practices are still sort of microbial practices are still somewhat similar, although there have been advances in amongst microbiology laboratories, for example, in the detection of different forms of microbes or microorganisms. The notes here were to are to sort of to sort of discuss the sort of practical issues or challenges associated with the use of molecular methodologies, and some of the some elements in some part in some of the investigations, some of the investigations in context of their novelty, which will make sort of the make sort of the detection of microorganisms more make the detection of microorganisms for laboratory specialists, for example, all that more sort of easier to thus ultimately to see that the end user, i.e., patients or healthcare service users, are ultimately cared for or taken are cared for or and ultimately taken care of in context of any sort of particular particular challenges um, around um, around microorganisms. Um, uh, as part of the synopsis as well, just to inform that one of the sort of main questions, from this series, the Brawl and Rumble, is in around why use genome detection methods or methodologies, for example. Some of the basis is in around, for example, immunocompromised healthcare service users may fail to produce virus specific antibodies, and thus uh, cause, thus 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 keeping the immune system sort of generally susceptible to particular kinds of infections, and then additionally, passively acquired antibody passively acquired antibodies may confuse serological investigations or serological analyses, and additionally, and as part of using genome detection methodologies, there generally, like in many aspects of healthcare, for example, there's a window period, or a window period before detectable antibody is produced, and also that microorganisms that are prompted to be detected cannot be cultured in vivo, or grow inefficiently, or sort of grow inefficiently or slowly. So that also can be a challenge in microbiology, sort of laboratory, and as part of investigation. So it's another basis for using genome detection methods is that it can help detect microorganisms more rapidly. And then another aspect to this is that in around genome detection methodologies is that they may be more sensitive than conventional methodologies or investigations. So that so thus using genome sort of methodologies can sort of ultimately allow laboratory specialists, for example, laboratory healthcare service providers, um, uh, um, um, can help detect sort of um, sort of elements in around microorganisms at sort of more intricate at the more intricate level or bases, so thus to ensure that healthcare service users have the applicable sort of treatment modalities, where and where required. That's going to draw in some of the basis of this synopsis. The synopsis will sorry this series generally will go into a bit more background. We'll go into a bit more background and around application of molecular techniques to microbial diagnoses, and we'll look at sort of some of the traditional molecular methodologies applied to microbial diagnoses. We'll look at in this series there will be a sort of a look at additionally in around the amplification methodologies in microbiological I'm sorry, microbiological microbial diagnoses, and there will be a look at there will be a look at in around sort of the nucleic acid sequence based amplification, or abbreviated as NASBA. And then there will be a look at strand displacement amplification, or SDA. There will be a look at with that there will be a look at ligase chain reaction, or LCR. There will be a look at a series, a look at a sort of branded DNA, branched DNA, or bDNA technology, and there'll be a look at the uses of molecular amplification methodologies in diagnostic microbiology, and then some conclusion and some elements in around a conclusion as part of this audio podcast series. As per the audio podcast under Storm Robotics Productions, there will be a sort of sort of some references that listeners or viewers can check in on to identify some similar literature, or similar sort of bases in around this audio podcast series, so that listeners and viewers can refer to literature in at their own leisure, as applicable. So that draws this synopsis to a close, and this audio podcast is part of Synopsis, is part of the prompt series. This audio podcast series, Synopsis, will be as part of the ball and rumble, and the atomic headline. And this audio podcast series, the prompt series, is part of a Storm Robotics production.